is Olivia. Today I'm going to discuss with you the impact of standardized testing on primary school students in Singapore. So standardized testing is used in Singapore to provide some consistency in student learning, and it's also used to evaluate students and stream them into different academic tracks and schools. An example of standardized tests in Singapore would be the primary school leaving examination, and it's used as a gateway for entry into higher institutions of education. So admission to higher levels of education in Singapore is determined almost solely by students' performances in these high-stakes tests. And students undergoing such standardized and high-stakes tests learn what they perceive to be relevant to the test, and they also experience stress and pressure due to the importance of these tests on their academic future. So students focus on memorizing content and not so much on creative thinking and holistic development. And a review of the assessment system actually follows criticism that students are not prepared for sustainable learning, as they only study what they regard to be relevant to these tests and performances. A lack of feedback to students also happens in these tests, and students only really learn what they think would help them pass these tests or do well in them. And that's a finding that Ratnam Lim and Tan actually found in their study. Students also do not get a balanced curriculum due to these narrow testing areas, and teachers have expressed concern and apprehension about what competencies are therefore ranked and valued. Students, on the other hand, also do find that standardized testing allow them to ascertain their own level of competency and whether they need additional help or motivation in schools. Active learning can also counter the effects of didactic learning, and holistic learning has been introduced in some schools to try to balance that out. However, Tan also commented that alternative assessments might not necessarily translate to better learning. There is also an impact on self-concept and potential that students suffer. Standardized tests rank students only alongside their peers, and a lot of these aggregate scoring that they achieve has nothing to do with what or how well they actually learn anything. It's got more to do with ranking amongst their peers and then acceptance into a school of choice. They do not therefore get an accurate reflection on learning, just how much they compare to their peers. Standardized testing have also been shown to negatively impact disadvantaged groups of students. Working class students actually report negative experiences due to struggles with language use in the test. So this is particularly in the UK. On the other hand, there's insufficient evidence of negative impact and distress shown in literature. So Roger, Bartlett, and Robinson argue that all tests of performance can be expected to increase levels of stress. But after studying student responses, they determined that the stress levels were self-reported, did not exceed the measure, and students reported little negative association with standardized testing. Parker and al. Also conducted a study of primary 6 and primary 5 students. Primary 6 students were undergoing the primary school leaving examinations, and they did not report higher levels of stress. However, it's important to note that the parents were the ones giving the response and not the students. So in conclusion, standardized high-stakes tests do not support students' sustainable learning practice, and they do affect their self-concept. And they heighten stress levels because of the importance of these tests on their learning progression. So there also needs to be additional research done on student impact from their point of view instead of from the teacher's point of view. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.